Would you like to read the statement of intent? Oh, welcome everybody. At this time, I'm going to have Barbara read our statement of intent, and she's going to read it from there.
I'll just read it from here. We are fortunate to have a variety of speakers for Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church where you can worship the God of your own understanding, a place to experience joy and be uplifted, a place where we can gain strength and inspiration to share with all we meet throughout the week. We invite you to join us in the celebration of life, to nurture your spirit, and to enjoy the company of kindred souls.
All right, and at this time we will be singing our opening hymn, which is Let There Be Peace on Earth. And you can find it on the words on the white card, or it's number 3 in our book. And at this time, I'm going to have our speaker, Heidi, give us an opening prayer. Or is it a poem?
Hi, everybody. This is a poem by Alla Renee Bozarth. My little sister has it hanging on her wall, and I just love it. So here it goes. The small plot of ground on which you were born cannot be expected to stay forever the same. Earth changes, and home becomes different places. You took flesh from clay, but the clay did not come from just one place. To feel alive, important and safe, know your own waters and hills, but no more. You have stars in your bones and oceans in blood. You have opposing terrain in each eye. You belong to the land and sky of your first cry. You belong to infinity.
All right, so at this time we're going to sing
88.
number 88, which is
Sweet Hour of Prayer.
Sweet Hour of Prayer. And you'll find that in Wings of Song. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara gets to come and play for us once in a great while, and we are so happy that she can join us every now and again. Anyway, welcome, everybody. My name is Sue, and I am the Sue Brewer, and I'm the president of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church Board of Trustees. That's a mouthful, by the way. And today, our speaker is Heidi Wanzek. Did I spell that? Did I say that right? Okay. Heidi has some beautiful artwork that she'd like to show us, and she's also got some meaning behind this artwork, and will explain it to us. And her topic is exploring the threshold. You had an art installation recently that was called crossing or getting to the threshold, or what was it? Yeah. What was it? Within the threshold. So now we're going to explore the threshold itself. All right, so we have some announcements. Today, of course, is Heidi. November 3rd, that's tomorrow. The Unity Book Group, 6:30, downstairs. Were you downstairs or up here last time? Okay, you'll probably be upstairs again because our silent auction is still on down in the basement, the library room, basement, community room, sorry. November 4th, the Abraham Group meets up here. They want you to, if you're interested in the Abraham Group, come through the front door. The door is open at 6. The book group goes from 6:30 to 8, and they are going to be reading The Amazing Power of Deliberate Intent by Esther and Jerry Hicks. And so they are on Tuesday evening. Today, we have a special guest, Pam. She's going to be doing her 5-minute readings for free if you have already shown that you are a member, or just make sure you say, oh yeah, I'm a member. So take advantage. There's a sign-up sheet downstairs, and she'll start a little after lunch, and they'll be right in the meditation room over here. And in the upcoming week or so, we will be needing your help. If you've got some extra oomph and strength to do it, we need to fix the slab down below. We need to fix the drainage problem around it, right by the front door. As some of you may remember, we had issues with that last year, and we do not want to have that problem again. We need to have that egress downstairs open and available, where last year the slab heaved and froze shut, and we couldn't open the back door very well. So please let us know if you can give us a helping hand. Let Steve know, definitely. All right, and the other thing we have is every Sunday, we have a little group of people who stick around after lunch, and they ask each other very deep and thoughtful questions. And I do put them in the Sunday or the weekly email, but for those of you who don't read that far down, I know you don't, okay? So there's no fooling me. I know all about that, okay. Anyway, here are the questions for this afternoon at lunch, which are, number 1, why are you here today? And the second one is, how do you go about forgiving your enemies? What was the lesson that person provided for you? So some deep thoughts to remember and think about, and to share your answers at lunch, after lunch. And speaking of the silent auction, it is still going on. We have kind of debated about how long we want to keep it open. But yeah, so go in there, check out the items on the auction, and put in a good bid, and let's see what you get. But Barbara has some interesting information she'd like to share about her talk on December 21st.
Well, December 21st is not going to be a talk. It's going to be Christmas carols, sing-along, because you know how I love sing-alongs, and you know how I love Christmas carols, and you can only really sing them at one time of year. And so by fortunate, as fate would have it, I am not going to be spending the winter in Georgia. I'll be spending the winter up here in Madison, Minneapolis, coming up here. So I get to actually come up for the December 21st and do the Christmas sing-along. So I'm going to bring with me a turkey, and we're going to have Christmas dinner after the sing-along, and then maybe after that, I'd like to do, for those who don't know, I'm a psychic channel, And I would like to just do a really nice end of the year channel after lunch. Plenty of time for questions and all that. So yeah, put it on your calendar.
That is so exciting. I can't wait. All right. Turkey, my fave. All right. So next Sunday, for our speaker, we will have two people, Robert Aho and Michael Anderson. And the two of them together are going to talk about awakening through sound energy. So come and join us for that next week. Are there any other announcements that I need to? Okay, Steve.
We've been trying to do some videos on the fifth Sunday because we don't have anything else planned. So after the service on the last Sunday of November, I want to show a video entitled Creator Discusses Death, Transition, and the Immediate Afterlife. It's a video that I found recently of a channel that goes into what happens when you die, what you need to watch out for, what you need to be aware of. It's just very interesting and I think very powerful because a lot of this information is verified in near-death experiences, so it's good to know about. So if you want to see that, come watch it after lunch on Sunday at the last Sunday of the month, which is the 30th.
All right. Any other announcements? Well, then we will go about reading. You'll find our principles on the white card. We believe God is the eternal source and creator of all and is present in everything. Our eternal soul, endowed with free will, grows through many lifetimes. Communication occurs between the physical and spiritual worlds. Prayer and meditation strengthen our connection to the divine. All healing comes from Source. Seeking this for ourselves and compassion for others' suffering is the highest priority. Because we are all one, what we do unto others, we do unto ourselves. The choice of love is always open for every soul. Living these principles leads us to grow in divine love. So at this time, we'll be talking about our healing. Could somebody please bring forth the healing bowl? All right. As she's bringing that up, are there any requests for prayers? Anybody have someone they want us to pray for?
Please pray for my friend Carmen, who is suffering from extended breast cancer, and she is in need of our prayers. Thank you.
As many of you know, we've been praying for Harriet, who is now at home. She was able to leave the rehab center. She had 3 weeks approximately in rehab, and now, as of her birthday, on Thursday, she got to move home on her birthday. So that was really dear. And it's a spinal surgery that she had, and it's had incredible amounts of benefit, but also a very rugged journey, pain-wise and so forth. So let's hold Harriet up and help her keep healing in the best way possible for her highest good.
Anyone else? We all have people we're thinking about, so keep those people in your prayers. And at this time, we're going to ring the bell for a moment of silence, and then the moment of silence, and then we'll say the healing prayer on the card. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help and to restore them to perfect health. We put our trust in the love and power of God. We'll sing hymn number 74 in Wings of Song in the silence, and then we'll have a moment of silence, and Carolyn Sheets will be offering a healing meditation.
And now, as we move into a guided peace here, just notice your shoulders and your neck, your eyebrows. You might even touch your third eye for a moment, just to help those muscles know where they are holding on. And let it drop and open. And your whole body down, head, shoulders, elbows and the tops of your hands, your fingers, your spine, dropping down. Move slightly in some way that your body wants to remind itself where it can let go. A little bit more. Notice your neck again, lifting. Such tiny amounts of lifting, and it affects the whole torso. Notice you're sitting. And it's a little tiny bit of rocking to remind yourself, to remind your body how it can let go a little bit more. And dropping down through your legs, supported, and then your feet heading into the ground. near your neck and your skull, connecting in again, all the way through your body to your feet. And dropping into the earth, into our earth, into Gaia, into this profound, beautiful body of Gaia. Feel how it can almost make your cheeks want to go up and tear a little bit, because Gaia is so beautiful. And we're going to think about forgiveness and our shining heart, and imagining, feeling for some of us in some ways, all the shining hearts around us in this beautiful space and across the world. Shining hearts. All of us, with all of our stories, our true stories of glory and trauma. Check your cheeks. Just feel the poignancy and the glory that you carry. We carry. And we know. We actually know in Western science circles, besides intuitively, we know we are connected holographically through the whole cosmos. And our part in our heart is where we forgive. And everybody gets help from that, feeling forgiveness. Beyond the beyond, through the multi-cosmos, every star we cannot see yet feels our forgiveness of ourselves at the same moment. That's holographic. We're in it together. Forgiving ourselves because we're not perfect yet. We are each doing our best in this moment with whatever's happened to us. Back through the DNA reaches to many lifetimes, to the in-between times. Forgiveness, a softening of our shoulders, an humble, poignant willingness in our faces for ourselves. Softening into how much we didn't do yesterday that we wanted to do better. It's okay. Forgiveness sets us free to be a human, simply doing our best. So for ourselves, we melt in. And we might sparkle a little bit inside, simply blessing ourselves. and being willing to shine. Dear Source, dear Creator, dear Source, thank you. Thank you for this life. Thank you for all my screw-ups, so I can forgive. So I can forgive again and again. So I can fall down and I can get up again. And I can be blessed the whole time. And when one of us does it, we do it for everybody and everything and every sentient sparkle of the plasma of the multiverse. Blessed be. Just keep doing our best to soften into how wonderful we are. And come on back up the spiral dance from the center of Gaia, or as close as we were, and be shining for the rest of your life. Amen.
So, yeah. All right. Can you all hear me okay? Is this efficient enough? Okay. So, my name is Heidi. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thanks to Debbie for inviting me. Away from the thing. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. Yeah, thank you to Debbie for inviting me. We met at my show down at the Duluth Art Institute. But I am a lot of things. The first thing I always say I am is an artist, because that's kind of the thread that ties all of my work together. But I also have a business where I run a small regenerative farm growing flowers and herbs. So I'm also a folk herbalist, finishing my Master of Herbalism at the Green Wisdom School. And we also do floral design for wedding adornment and lots of life events for folks. And I also guide yoga part-time. I do a little bit more of that in the winter. And I'm an artist, and my practice is mostly sculpture. And I love sculpture because it's this open-ended medium to explore whatever subject matter, whatever you want. And when I found it, I was so intrigued by that, because you don't have to start with a canvas or clay. You're not bound to any sort of starting point or material. It's all kind of what you make it. And so that kind of is how my practice, the foundation of my practice is intuition, and a way for me to explore myself, my own life, and then reflect that back and share with others and see what they can get out of it. And something that comes up for me in my practice a lot is the cycles of life and death and rebirth. And I find that in materials, and the materials I'm drawn to are often in states of decay or transformation or different stages in their life. And that's often kind of my starting point for my work. And that interest in the life-death cycle carries over to in my other work as well. It's really why I got into farming and working with the plants, and the adornment with flowers as well. It all kind of ties back to that bigger picture. But yeah, people often ask me how I find the meaning behind my sculptural work, and I just wanted to talk a bit about that and then about the show specifically in a couple of pieces. But oftentimes I don't start with an idea in mind. I usually find something that speaks to me or it gives me a feeling, and I'm like, okay, I gotta have that, and I have to make it into something and give it this vitality or elevate it to this place it should be in. So I'm always kind of moving through the world, observing and looking around and just like strengthening that intuition to make it keen. And then when I start making the work, when I bring stuff back to the studio and I'm doing different processes, carving or weaving or bringing in other materials, that's when I start to see how I'm working through things in my own life and the concepts start to come up for me. So I thought I would talk a little bit about the concept for the show, which was within the threshold. And I'll just read part of my exhibition statement. I know some of you maybe made it out to the show, but this is a bit of the exhibition statement. All matter, including man-made objects, is sourced from the same elements that made us, and therefore bound by the same cyclical patterns of our universe. Within the threshold is interested in a specific point in the cycle, the gray area of crossing the threshold from life to death. At the end of one cycle and at the start of another lies a distinct force. In this liminal space, there is a long, drawn-out moment before energy is dispersed back into the universe. An understanding of time surfaces through the knowledge of the life lived, like teetering on a fragile line between the bounds of life and the expansion into death. This specific moment is shared between human lives and the material world, where all matter changes, yet we often turn our gaze away from the spot in the life-death-life cycle. So that's kind of a bit on what the threshold means to me, and I kind of found that that was the best word to encompass what the body of work is about, and that I'm just interested in this space that's the in-between, and this transition that the materials are in, but also that we find ourselves in our life. So I think a lot about how we're never really static, like we're never on either end of a spectrum. We're always in this ebb and flow and in between, and the threshold to me really is from the moment you're born until you die. Like that, our whole life is a threshold, and we get to see again and again these smaller cycles of that, and then we see it in bigger moments, like when we actually witness a birth or a death, and those I think really bring people together and show us that those bigger overarching themes in life. And that's what I was interested in my show, that death isn't just this ending, it's an act of singularity becoming plurality, the one becoming many. And sometimes that's more literal, it's the material I find exploding into a million pieces through destruction like these, or sometimes it's an animal dying and that story becoming a narrative of composting and worms and all these other life forms, or sometimes it's just how when a person dies, you and all the people around them get to take on all these layers of their own story, and that life continues. So yeah, I wanted to touch on a few pieces that kind of shaped the show and share a little bit more about my personal experience in making them and how I got there, because I don't often get to share that side of things, because I really want people to come and see the work and have their own experience and take their own meanings. But I thought it would be nice to share how all of these relate to something I reflected back on in my own life. So I'll start with this piece. This piece was called Not Afraid. And this one was kind of the backbone for my whole show at the Duluth Art Institute. And it began in Chicago. I used to live in Chicago. And I had a friend who was really into car parts and stuff, and I would walk the salvage yards with him, and I would look through the cars, and I was just so interested in that some of these cars had like personal belongings still, like a sweatshirt or a rosary hanging from the dashboard, and I couldn't believe how many stories were held in these vehicles, and I was just so interested in that. And I kept coming back again and again and finding myself drawn to the vehicles I would find with shattered glass, and I knew I had to figure out a way to do something with it because of the way that auto glass is made. A windshield, it's laminated on both sides, so when it shatters, it's held in place, and it's held in this moment that is literally that threshold, that in between, where it's that split second before the life ends, before the material changes, and it's exploding into a million narratives. So that was my goal, is to bring this back into the studio and capture it and let people interact with it in a way that is in a relation to their body and their stories. And over the summer when I was working on this, this was years ago, and I was out on a road trip with a friend, and we witnessed a rural car accident, and the people who were in the car died, and we were just there and sort of helpless, and that really shaped the way I started to understand death as a young person, seeing that moment put things into perspective. And when that happened, it's not like I set out to make the piece, but the things sort of coincided, and then as I finished the work, I came to understand how this was me processing this event that happened to me, and my understanding of life and death and what it means to be in that threshold state. And then showing the work, so many people shared their experiences, beautiful experiences or traumatic experiences, and I think that really is the beauty in it for me. Was, yes, I had my own backstory, but I was able to transform it into something that people can relate to, and not only just with the windshield, but the energy and feeling that the work is able to give them. And then the next piece I was going to talk about, if you could go to the next slide. The next piece is titled Stillborn, and if you click the little arrow key, you got it? Cool.
Is that the right one?
Yeah, that's perfect. So this piece is a little bit different than the last one, because so each time I start a piece, it's very different. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm making, and I'm just starting something. Sometimes I have a material that's really pulling me somewhere, like with the auto glass. And this one, I actually saw the image of this shape, this figure, in a dream state. And I just was like, okay, I have to make that. When I came out of it, I was like, this is something I have to birth and make. So this one happened really fast because I already saw what it needed to be. And then I kind of worked backwards of what it meant to me, and the title came. And when I showed this one, a lot of people were really, really drawn to it and naturally came to their own conclusions of that it looks like the universe being born, or a death happening, a release, or that it's a womb and like this birth canal. And you can't see it so much in the photo, but there's iron pigment throughout that kind of acts as a blood through the whole figure. And this piece, to me, really is about birth and death as a continuum and how they overlap and interrelate. And that spectrum, the life-death life cycle, isn't so linear. It's not this distinct line like we're born and then we work our way to death, that it's this layered thing throughout our lives, and it's so different for each person. And I'm just so fascinated by that and how birth can hold death, and in the same reverse situation, how death can mirror birth. And the title comes from my experience, which was a big initiatory experience for me. When I was 8 years old, my mom had a stillborn, and that was the first death I ever saw. And so as a child, you know, you think death is for old people, and then here I was seeing this little baby, and that really shaped my understanding of how fragile life and death are, and that it's not this linear system that we're living in, and that things overlap and they're not perfect. And luckily, my parents were very open about that, and it really had this profound impact with me that kind of began this like lifelong interest in these cycles. Yeah, and it was really beautiful to see how people related to that. A lot of women were really drawn to this piece as well in the gallery, and I think that you know, we know in our bones that life and death aren't two separate things, and we can feel that, and I think that that was happening a lot with people resonating with this piece. And then we'll go to the next one. This is the final piece I wanted to talk about. So this one, for me, is kind of the finishing act of my show, because it was the last one I was working on. I had found this part of a tree. My sisters actually helped me drag it out through the snow and bring it home. And I didn't have a lot of time left before the show, and I was sort of unsure if I should finish another piece, but I started working on it and carving it, and this was one where I didn't have a distinct plan or idea, and there was so much uncertainty if it was going anywhere, and it was just this struggle. And I had this really strong feeling, though, of this is going to become something that needs to be a part of my show. And I didn't know why, but I just kept following that. So I progressed, and I got further along, and I was starting to feel like it was making more sense. And you can't see so much in this photo, but there's a lot of carving and embedding over the body of the wood. And as I was working on that, I started thinking a lot about how what I was doing to the wood was an act of anointing, carving and putting in pigment and embedding it. And the reason I was so interested in this idea of anointing is, well, I grew up Catholic, so I knew of this idea of anointing of the sick. And a few years ago, about 2 years ago now, when my grandpa was dying in hospice, well, he was in a lot of denial of the fact that he was dying. He really didn't want to talk about it or address it, and he didn't even want to be in hospice. So it was really hard for the family to talk to him, and for me to feel like I could connect with him when we weren't addressing this like elephant in the room. And then I saw the hospice chaplain come in and anoint him and address this thing that was happening, and I was like, why can't I address that? Why does this person get to do that? And so I had an herbal body oil that I had made, and I took it out, and I was like, okay, I'm going to step through this wall that's between me and him and break through it and share that moment with him and have that touch and give him that act of anointing myself. And then when that happened, my sisters joined in, my aunts, like everybody was able to break through that wall and acknowledge this rite of passage to death, which was really beautiful for me since he was in so much denial and I didn't want him to pass over that way. So that kind of like formed this idea of anointing for me with this work. And then I showed it, oops, sorry. And then I showed it in the exhibition, and I kind of thought that was that, and I was there the last couple days before the show closed to take my work, or take some photos of my work before I had to take it down. And there was just some beautiful sunlight pouring in, and I was just kind of staring at this piece and thinking about it and how sad I was that my grandpa didn't get to be at the show, because he was a big supporter of me having my art practice. And I was just sad that, you know, he died before I had my show. And then I looked at it and I realized how beautiful it was that he actually did die before the show, because this was him being in the show, that he truly was there, because I would have never had thought about these things or come to these conclusions without experiencing his death. And then that goes back to the whole concept of the show, of that one person's narrative got to diverge into so many more, and he gave me this deeper understanding of myself, and I got to explore that. And then I was able to realize that that gut feeling I had when I started the work was because I knew that he needed to be a part of it. So yeah, so that was kind of a recent realization. But it's just beautiful the way that that's what I love about sculpture and having an artistic practice, is that it is really a way for me to process and tie things back. And I don't often get to share these personal cycles that I go through on my own, but at the same time, I know that people are able to look at these and feel something and resonate with them, that they speak a language beyond words, and that's really why I do it. So yeah, I guess that's mostly what I have to say about my show, but I am happy to answer any questions or talk more about my practice. Yeah, I'd love to hear what people's thoughts are. Yeah.
I love how you follow your intuition. It's really excellent. Do you find it leading you other places besides your art?
Yeah, definitely. And I see a lot of crossovers. I had a mentor when I was in college who kind of taught me about intuition and following it, and that really changed my life, where once you start exercising that muscle in your brain or in your body, you get better at trusting it and recognizing it. And even when you're uncertain, that feeling is familiar now, so you can follow it and kind of walk off that cliff, but trust that something will catch you. So it's helped me gain confidence to make decisions in other parts of my life. So yeah.
You know when you go into that intuitive space, or do you have to set yourself in a position to go in?
Yeah.
Or is it so automatic that all of a sudden you realize that's where you are?
It's a good question. I mean, it's hard, like, to exist as a human, because you have your linear logical brain, and then you have this other side of you that's like more intuitive and magical and spiritual. And in our daily life, like, all the time you have to switch into logical to get stuff done and exist in the world. And sometimes I feel sad that we don't get to exist more in that other space. But I always do my best to try to find ways. And I mean, we do this accidentally all the time. You know, you're just living your life, and then something stops you in your tracks, and you're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Or you see something and it's just moves you. And I think that's the key, is trying to find that and exercise initiating that more on your own, is stepping back in or oscillating between the two sides of the brain, if that makes sense.
Is this still being presented, or?
The show was just came down in September.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to make more work and share more, and potentially maybe I'll share this body of work again somewhere else. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish you could have seen those windshields. They were absolutely gorgeous, and the sun was shining in. And then sometimes little flecks of glass would fall out of them, and it was just so moving. For me personally, like to see that and just the instantaneous of 1 minute they were alive, and then the next minute, how quickly life can change. In an instant. So, thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Yeah, I would share a thing happened to me the other year,
Mm-hmm.
and I left my body,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out to the universe of spirit because that seemed like the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the energy in the universe of spirit was so transforming and so fantastic, and that's where we spiritually could get to go sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy of the universe is most fantastic thing I'd ever felt. It's the spirit of the universe, and that's where Jesus went to,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where people get to go and the angels go. So we get to go there too.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is to, how can we think of that as well possible for us? Because we are in the universe of spirit, even now. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I think it's interesting you say that because in our daily life, we don't think about that. And then unless something happens or, sometimes you're moved to that threshold place because a family member is dying, and then you watch everybody, all of a sudden nothing matters besides that because you get closer to that realm of the other side. You can sense it. And yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I
Yeah.
have an image of this intuitive nature of yours, moving around wherever you are. And so do you find that because your sculptures are so capturing the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and how is that in the rest of your life? Does it weave all over the place? Surprise you? When you're cooking, you do something weird.
Yeah.
It turns out great.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, and the thing is too, is that the practice of the sculpture weaves back into my life too. Like I can't go anywhere without having that observation kind of like glasses on. And yeah, and I think, like I was saying earlier, exercising that intuition and listening to it with the materials and stuff, and then I see, like with this piece, how it all came full circle for me, and I trusted, even though when I started making it, I was like, this isn't working, it's feeling silly, I don't know if it should be a part of it, and then when you see again and again that the trust was right, that gets stronger, and I really have like seen that in my own life, like I mentioned, the business I run, growing flowers, and that was a big leap to start that, and I had the same feelings come up, and but I knew to trust it, and I knew to see it through, and I think those threads of life and death are everywhere, and it's so interconnected with intuition, and we all have that in us as humans, and we all understand that language, even if some people think they don't, they do have it in their bones. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
It's native to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really feel it is. Yeah, I think it just has to be relearned sometimes because our world doesn't function that way. But there's a lot of people that can tap into it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Oops, I gotta turn this on, right? Okay, thanks, Heidi. That was so amazing. I have things to discuss with you. At this time, can I have a couple of people bring forth the baskets for our offering? And want to just play a little something?
And so we are all together now. The spirits that we are all together in that oneness with ourselves, but with each other, with everyone here. And to understand we are also a oneness with the universe of spirit too, where the angels go, where Jesus went too. We are spirits of the universe, always and forever. Light, compassion, love, peace, and joy, forever and ever and ever.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. All right, so at this time, let us say our church affirmation. You'll find that on the white card. You ready? Here we go. We totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. As our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership and people to our spiritual community, and we are grateful. At this time, would you like to give us a closing word?
This is just a little excerpt from the book Woman Who Ran with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Sometimes the one who is running from the life-death-life cycle, life-death-life nature, insists on thinking of love as a boon only. Yet love in its fullest form is a series of deaths and rebirths. We let go of one phase, one aspect of love, and enter another. Passion dies and is brought back. Pain is chased away and surfaces another time. To love means to embrace and at the same time to withstand many, many endings and many, many beginnings, all in the same relationship.
And now let's gather in our circle and sing our closing song. God be with you. If you want to bring the card up with you for the words, we'll do it.
It's a good size circle. God be with